I normally don't record sermons, but last week we had a snowstorm, so I had to preach from my house. So I thought I would share so you can see kind of what one of my sermons looks like. A reading from Exodus 16. Then the whole community of Israelites began complaining again. They complained to Moses and Aaron in the desert. They said, "It would have been better if the Lord had just killed us in the land of Egypt. At least there we had plenty to eat. We had all the food we needed. But now you have brought us here into the desert to make us die from hunger." I am exhausted, even though I'm doing everything to make sure that isn't the case. Last week, I even took a vacation. In fact, we took a staycation and decided to spend the whole week right here at home on the farm. We played board games and cooked and did little projects around the house, and we spent a whole lot of time with all of our animals. But during the week, a hawk attacked our duck flock, and Lenny, our protector duck, fought him off. But later, he succumbed to his injuries and died in my wife's arms. Then we watched as Alex Pretty tried to protect his neighbors, and for that, he was murdered by a group of predators. The fact is, we can't keep everyone safe. There are these predators in the world, and they seep through our peace, even if we try to separate ourselves from the world. This fact sent me searching for answers to problems that were too big for me to deal with alone. It sent me back through history to all of those people who, in the midst of fear and exhaustion and frustration, kept showing up and changing the world. And there are 3 things that I found while I was searching. The first of these was that they didn't run from discomfort. It feels uncomfortable when you wake up and you see that the government officials lie to you. This may have happened years and years ago with Emmett Till or Trayvon Martin or Sonia Massey, or perhaps the first time may have been watching that video of Alex Pretty and hearing official after official tell you not to believe your own eyes. It is extremely uncomfortable when what we think we know, what we trust, shows us that it's not the truth. But the beautiful thing about that is that only in our discomfort do we actually seek the truth. When we sit in privilege, we ignore everything to stay in that privilege. Just like those Israelites wandering through the desert who said, "It would have been better if the Lord had just killed us in Egypt. At least there we had food to eat." But when that's broken, when that view of the world is shattered, that's when the light seeps in. When we find out that that privilege is a dark space, a lonely space, and that discomfort leads us to seek truth and connection and find answers and make change. In our Dialogos service, we are looking at the Israelites escaping slavery for a promised land. The Israelites faced extreme discomfort during their 40 years wandering the desert. They had a lack of food, a lack of water, harsh environment conditions. They were in the wilderness. They frequently grumbled and questioned everything. Often, they were ready to go back to slavery because of the discomfort of the journey. We're on that same journey. Right now, we're sitting in the desert. Many of us want to go back into that comfort of privilege, this nostalgia for a past that was not great, but for some reason felt safe. But if we're going to build together that promised land that we all want, we have to face what is uncomfortable so that we can open our minds and hearts to learning more I have never, ever wanted anything to do with guns. I wish that they had never been invented. I hate them so much. In fact, it's one of the first disagreements that my wife and I had when we were coming to the farm. She wanted to get a gun to protect our animals, and I did not. I wanted to ignore guns' existence. And I somehow thought if I ignored that they existed, if I just said a blanket no to everything about firearms, they would go away. While I was diving deeper into the Black Panther movement, I realized that when I first saw the pictures of these black men on the streets with guns, it quickly turned me away. I didn't want to look. I realized that inability to look turned me away from the powerful things they were doing. My ignorance kept me in the dark and didn't allow me to actually learn some amazing things for them. So I dove deeper in my discomfort. I learned about how they carried visible firearms so the people around them felt safe, and how they taught firearm safety to their Black community. To protect Black communities from police violence, this was vital. They even had to protest this thing called the Mulford Act, which banned the use of guns for them. The government was so triggered by these strong Black men carrying guns that even the predators scurried to stop it. And me not looking was my family's privilege. I realized that ignoring a problem, not educating myself, was something that came from a privileged place. I could say, no, I don't want to be near guns because I was safe. I don't want to know about guns because I don't need a gun to protect me. But it's more about protecting the oppressed. Then, in the middle of all the back and forth about Alex Pretty having a concealed weapon, I realized I really can't ignore it. So I am going to a gun class this week. I did my research and found a teacher whose values align with my own. Even though he is someone who is a vegan, who doesn't even kill animals to eat, I still feel so uncomfortable about going to the class that my stomach is turning. But I am going to educate myself. I'm going to sit in that discomfort, even fear, so that I can help affect change. The hardest part of discomfort is fear. Fear tries to push us into small spaces. We're told that fear is a lack of hope, a lack of a trust in God, but in truth, fear is a gift from our Creator. In Deuteronomy 1:29, Moses has to deal with people afraid to move forward because they don't know what's going to happen with the people on the other side. He tells them, dread not, neither be afraid of them. Even when they're so close to the promised land, they let their fear keep them from living their best lives. Yet in this moment, as in so many before, they came up with creative ways to deal with whatever problems might arise. Fear is actually the creative parts of our mind, pushing us to truly think through all the possibilities. People who experience fear deeply are some of the most creative people in the world. When they use that fear as a tool, they're able to change the world. They are the ones who are able to create a world that fear doesn't rule. Take this weekend. With the coming snowstorm, our fear helped us prepare so that we could handle whatever might happen. Our fear rushed us to the grocery stores and had us buy plenty of food. Our fear told us to get batteries and charge everything. Our fear told us it wasn't going to be safe to travel on the road, so we prepared to stay home. Fear is such an amazing force because it pushes us out of that comfort zone. It shows us glimpses of the future that might happen while we still have time to visualize how we can meet any struggle head on. In the story of the Israelites, when we read Leviticus, we saw that fear overtook them so many times. Fear of the unknown, fear of hunger, fear of which things were safe and not safe to eat, fear of death. Yet in that fear, they created a whole new way of life. That fear led them to create safe food laws, protect them from infections, and taught them to take time to rest and find joy, to learn from the past and find a new way of being. Fear causes us to organize within our families, our communities, so that we can face whatever life brings us together. And it's in community organizing that we make the world better than the world we were given. As a pastor, I'm a community organizer. My training, my education, my experience is community organizing. Clergy, rabbis, imams, all faith leaders are in their very essence community organizers. We follow some of the great prophets, the leaders throughout religions, from Moses to Siddhartha to Martin Luther King Jr. And what a religious group is at its very base, an organized community. Organized around values, goals, beliefs, people, and the understanding that there is something greater than our individual selves. Every revolution, renaissance, revival, every major movement in history where we have become better human beings has been led by faith-based organizations. The religions that are the strongest now are the ones that are the best at organizing. Those Israelites in Leviticus showed us how to create an entire society from nothing. The Catholic Church is brilliant at organizing. Unfortunately, the Christian nationalist movement is also really great at organizing, but not great enough to overcome the power of love-based religious groups when we work together. We're seeing something remarkable happening in the United States. We are seeing religious leaders from across faith backgrounds joining hands. We saw them standing in Minneapolis side by side. We saw them showing up in the Black Lives Movement. We see them at Pride Fest and marches and joint worship services and calls to action. There is power in organizing together. We can do things that we can't do alone. Here at Mosaic, we have a unique place in what is happening in our community and in our world. In our little Mosaic community, we have people from across ages, backgrounds, financial means, gender expressions, ways we love, types of families, and even religious practices. And we're all here because we want one thing: to make the world better than it was when we received it. So we're going to spend this whole year together using the principles learned from those who walked before us to organize and create change. Here in our community, we are going to spend this month learning how to organize as we actually do it. In the coming weeks, we're going to talk about how to bring groups of people together to change power structures and hear from someone who is already doing that in our community. And when it feels like all you can do is show up at a protest and then another, or buy a shirt or knit a hat, and it doesn't feel like it's enough, we're going to show you why those things matter but only when used with all of the amazing ways we can shift power, the ways that our ancestors taught us. Then, going forward each month, our entire Mosaic community is going to dive deep, deep down into several prevalent justice issues that affect all of us, from ableism to educational justice to environmental justice and fighting racism. We are going to organize and dive deep. We are going to listen to the people who are most affected by that, and then sitting in discomfort together with that powerful creative force of fear, we're going to change things. You're not alone in this fight. You're not alone in your frustration and your fear. You are also not alone in searching for ways to make it better. We do that together. I'm going to ask you to sit in the most uncomfortable places so that you can expand your knowledge of the world and find ways to change it. I'm going to ask that you listen to your fear, because in truth, that fear is inspiration. Its ability to see all the ways of the world, to change them. And I'm going to ask you to be an active part in that change, an active part in our community. I'm going to ask you to show up on Sundays, and for the various classes, I'm going to ask you to even go to the hard ones. But also, I'm going to beg you to please come to the fun things like game nights and band practices, because every moment together, we are creating something stronger than the forces that spread hate and injustice. And if you're joining us from outside of Eastern North Carolina, I encourage you to find justice community in your area. Maybe there is a temple or mosque or church or group. I know there is. And if you're watching this as a faith leader, please share with us where you are and what you are doing. That way we can help connect you with people, we can connect people to you, and we can learn what you're doing. Religion can be a deadly force. We've seen it throughout history, and we are feeling it today. But religion with love, with hope, with faith, with empathy is more powerful. It is the way we can leave this world better than how we found it. It is how we build the promised land, where our hopes for equality, love, and peace reign.